Sophie, have you ever been unfaithful to me? I asked my wife of a decade. She looked at me, her face full of confusion. Henry, how could you even ask that? It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. We'd just finished our dinner, settled down in the living room with steaming cups of coffee. Sophie's always been a beautiful woman, with blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes, and a figure that turns heads. Her usual smile could light up the room, and I'll admit, I'm head over heels for her. But right then, her smile looked forced, and I could see the worry in her eyes. Honestly, who wouldn't be rattled if their spouse suddenly came out with a question like that? I wish I had just one clear reason for feeling this way, I told her, but lately, something just feels off. I can't shake the sense that things aren't quite right between us. Should I be concerned about anything, Sophie? She shook her head. No, Henry. There's nothing for you to worry about. But I really wish you'd tell me what's making you uneasy. If there are any doubts, let's put them out in the open and sort them out together, don't you think? I nodded. Here's the thing. My job keeps me on the road every third Monday, and I don't come home until the Friday of the following week. That's almost 2 weeks where you're here by yourself, with a lot of free time and even a weekend alone. It's only natural to wonder, with all that opportunity, if things might go astray. She met my eyes and said, Henry, are you asking this because of your own experience? If I'm left alone for those days and weekends, so are you. Honestly, that gives me more reason to be concerned. I'm here in our town where everyone knows me, and if I did something out of line, someone would say something. But you're out there, on your own, and could easily do things without anyone finding out. I trust you, and I'd hope you trust me too. I had to admit, she made a fair point. I hear you, Sophie. But there's something else. You're a beautiful, attractive woman that any man would notice. I'm just an ordinary guy, no one pays me a second glance. But it's not only about the opportunities. I've also noticed you've changed. She frowned, genuinely curious. Changed? In what way, Henry? Well, I started, when I'm home after those long trips, we get about a week and a couple weekends together. Back in the day, our love life was pretty routine, maybe once or twice a week, nothing too out of the ordinary. But now, you're much more enthusiastic and, honestly, eager every single day. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I like it. You've become more creative, trying things we never did before, showing a spark I haven't seen in years. It's just, I can't help but wonder what brought on this change. Did someone else teach you something new? Because it sure didn't come from me. I just accepted our ordinary routine years ago. I paused and added, and you've even started changing up your look in ways you never did before, like the way you keep yourself groomed. I never asked for that. She smiled and said, Henry, would you prefer I stop trying new things? The truth is, women talk a lot more than men, and my friends have encouraged me to be more adventurous. They said I was missing out by keeping things too ordinary, and I started to see they had a point. I actually enjoy this new side of things. As for my new look, it was their idea, they promised it would be exciting for both of us. Honestly, I feel good about it, and if you'd rather I didn't, just say so. I quickly reassured her, no, I like it, and I appreciate your creativity. But that's not the only thing on my mind. With all your free time, I'm surprised you haven't picked up any new hobbies or part-time work, or tried to learn something new. And then there's the extra spending on dresses and fancy underwear you don't even wear when we go out together. I just don't understand it. She looked frustrated now. Henry, that's not fair. I take care of the house and the kids, and being on my own for nearly 2 weeks at a stretch keeps me plenty busy. And you know I love to dance. I take lessons every Monday night. Those new dresses are for my dancing, and the lightweight underwear is so there aren't any lines under my outfits. The dance school has a deal with a local shop, so I don't pay full price. Plus, I'm careful with our money. Her voice rose a bit, she was getting annoyed. I realized maybe I'd been too harsh. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. Maybe it's a lot harder for you when I'm away than I realized. I didn't mean to suggest you're lazy or not pulling your weight. Maybe I should look for another job, one that would keep me home more. What do you think, Sophie? She looked genuinely surprised. You'd really think about leaving your good job just to be home more? Yeah, I said, but it would mean making less money. We'd have to tighten our belts a bit. Would you be okay with us living more simply, Sophie? She hesitated. If you insist, I'll go along with it. But I have to admit, I do like the life we have, the trips abroad, the skiing vacations. But if you want to keep your job and trust me, I'll manage just fine here at home. The choice is yours, Henry. Before ending the conversation, I had one last thing on my mind. Sophie, There's something else I need to ask. One of my friends said he's seen you at the convention hotel in the evenings, all dressed up, dancing and having fun with men he doesn't know. He's seen it more than once, and he swears it was you. Why are you out so late, dressed to the nines, dancing with strangers? She looked at me and answered honestly. I probably should have mentioned it before, but I didn't think it was a big deal. You know I take dance classes, right? There are always way more women than men, so we don't get much practice. The convention hotel often has more men than women at their events, and the management invites us ladies from the dance school to come by after dinner so there's enough people to dance. It gives me a chance to practice more with a live band, and I really enjoy it. You never want to go dancing with me, so please don't try to stop me from having this. I nodded, realizing trust had to go both ways. You're right, Sophie. I need to trust you like you trust me. But just out of curiosity, if you ever found out I'd been unfaithful, would you forgive me? I'm not really sure, Henry, Sophie answered, her voice thoughtful. If you had a long-term relationship behind my back, I know I'd leave you for good. If it was just a one-time mistake, maybe I could forgive you, maybe not. It'd depend on what happened, I guess. But don't think you've got a free pass. Keep yourself honest, Henry, or you'll regret it. She finished with a sly little grin. Okay, that's fair enough, goes both ways, I replied. I didn't wait for her to say anything more. Let's call it a night and head to bed. In our bedroom, I quickly changed and went through my usual nighttime routine, brushed my teeth, washed up, and dove under the covers, waiting for Sophie to join me. She always took her time, never in a rush. When she finally came in, she started undressing in this slow, playful way, almost like she was putting on a show just for me. It was flirtatious, even a little mischievous, and I'll admit, she knew exactly how to keep my attention. She slipped under the covers beside me, close and warm. The way she reached for me was gentle, and her touch was electric, tracing her fingers along my skin, leaning in, and kissing me deeply. There was an energy in the room I hadn't felt in years. Sophie seemed more confident, more affectionate, and honestly, she surprised me. She made me feel wanted, and the connection between us was so strong that night, I nearly forgot all my worries. I held her close, feeling grateful for the love we still shared. Afterwards, she curled up next to me, her voice soft and loving. I love you, Henry. Tonight meant a lot to me. I'm already looking forward to the next time you're home. Wrapped up together, feeling content, we both drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I was back on the road, driving to a new set of sales meetings. My mind kept wandering back to the night before and the long talk I'd had with Sophie. On the surface, her answers made sense, but something about how she acted left me uneasy. I couldn't shake the feeling there was more to her story than she let on. So, during those next 2 weeks away, I made a few calls to friends and started quietly digging for answers. What I found surprised me. The dance academy told me they didn't have any kind of deal with a dress shop for discounts, and there was no official agreement with the hotel for their students to dance at conventions. The hotel itself confirmed this and mentioned, rather pointedly, that a few local women sometimes mixed with their conference guests, and the hotel didn't really approve. They even hinted that some of these women would sometimes go up to guests' rooms and stay the night. I couldn't say for sure that Sophie was involved in any of that, but it definitely raised more questions. I realized she'd lied about at least a couple things, and I needed to know the truth. So I decided to ask a couple of my buddies, guys Sophie didn't know, to quietly follow her on one of those evenings at the hotel. I figured if I covered their expenses, they'd help me get to the bottom of it, one way or another. With those thoughts in my head, I went to bed on the last night of that trip. The next morning, a wake-up call at 7:30 rattled me out of a deep sleep. Getting up never comes easy for me, but after a few groggy minutes, I forced myself to start my morning routine, TV on, a quick shave, a shower. While I was in the bathroom, I heard the tone of the news change. The reporter sounded unusually urgent and kept mentioning a fire at our big local hotel. I dropped my razor and hurried back into the room to see what was happening. On the screen, a reporter stood in front of the hotel, microphone in hand, with smoke billowing from every doorway and window behind him. He was interviewing a fireman, asking, "Inspector, what can you tell us about the situation right now?" The fireman, looking tired but focused, answered, "We've been able to keep the fire contained to the ground floor, but the real problem now is the smoke. Every emergency exit and hallway is filled with it. We've managed to get all staff out from the ground and first floors, and a number of guests who were staying lower down. But there are still quite a few people stuck in their rooms on the higher floors." The reporter pressed on, "Do you know how many people were inside, and how many you've been able to evacuate so far?" "We don't have an exact count just yet, the inspector answered. Thankfully, the receptionist had the presence of mind to grab the guest log before he evacuated, and he also has a list of all the staff who were supposed to be on duty. We've got people cross-checking those names with everyone we bring out. So far, according to our latest numbers, all 18 staff members are safe, and we've accounted for 57 out of 116 registered guests. But the receptionist mentioned that sometimes there are people in the rooms who aren't officially checked in, so it's hard to know the exact number. The reporter nodded and turned back to the camera. How are you planning to get the rest of the guests out? The inspector replied, we're using the loudspeakers to tell everyone to wet towels and seal them under the doors, to help keep the smoke out of their rooms. We hope to clear the hallways soon. In the meantime, we're using the fire truck ladders to reach as high as we can, up to the 6th floor. Any higher, and we just can't get to them with the ladders. As he spoke, he turned and pointed toward the hotel, and the cameraman followed his gesture, zooming in on a firefighter who was helping a woman out of a window on the 6th floor. The firefighter carried her down the ladder, cradled in his arms, with a man following closely behind, climbing down on his own. The camera stayed with them as they descended, zooming closer with every step. When the firefighter reached the ground, he set the woman gently on her feet. She straightened up, took a moment to catch her breath, and then, as the camera focused in on her, she looked right into the lens. Her face filled the screen. I stared in disbelief, my heart hammering in my chest. It was Sophie, my wife, clear as day. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but there was no mistake. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping I'd imagined it, but when I opened them again, she was still there on the TV, unmistakable in her evening dress, being rescued from a hotel room at 8 in the morning. The camera cut back to the reporter, but I hardly heard another word. I just sat there, stunned, with Sophie's image frozen in my mind. There she was, for the whole world to see, my Sophie, being carried out of a stranger's hotel room. It slowly sank in that I'd gotten the answer I never wanted, in the most public way imaginable. And I realized, with a heavy heart, that my marriage was truly over.